I didn't even know where to look first. The line of tow trucks blocking the private road, the furious HOA president screaming into her phone, or the empty space in my garage where 6 luxury cars had just been hauled away at once. All I knew was this: 30 minutes earlier, she'd been laughing in my face, telling me I didn't get special treatment, and now her entire little empire was collapsing in real time. That morning had started quietly. Too quietly, actually. I was standing on the deck of my lake house, coffee warming my hands, watching the water ripple the way it always did just after sunrise. This place was my refuge. I'd bought it years ago, long before the neighborhood exploded with development, long before the HOA signs went up, long before anyone thought they had the right to tell anyone else how to live. This house, this land, that garage by the lake, it was mine. Deeded separately. Clean paperwork. No HOA dues. No HOA rules. No HOA authority. So when I heard engines, not one, not two, but several, revving and shutting off in quick succession, it felt wrong. The sound didn't belong here. I leaned over the deck railing and froze. Inside my lake garage, the one that sat just off the water, were cars. Not just any cars. Classic cars. Expensive ones. A cherry red muscle car with polished chrome. A restored vintage coupe that probably cost more than my first house. A luxury roadster covered like it was in some kind of museum display. They were parked neatly, doors locked, tags displayed in the windshield like it was a public exhibition. For a second I genuinely wondered if I was still asleep. Then I saw her. She stood right in the center of my garage like she owned it, sunglasses on, clipboard in hand, barking directions at a group of people who nodded and scrambled to follow her orders. "No, no, that one goes on the left," she said sharply, clapping her hands. "We need space here for photos. This is a showcase." I walked down from the deck, every step slower than the last, trying to process what I was seeing. When I reached the garage entrance, I asked calmly, "What's going on here?" She didn't even turn around. "This is an HOA showcase event," she said, flipping a page on her clipboard. "We're using this garage for overflow storage." Using my garage. I stared at her for a moment, waiting for the punchline. Then I said it, still calm, still controlled. "This is private property." She laughed. Actually laughed. A short, sharp sound like I'd told a joke that wasn't very funny. "Everyone here is HOA," she said, finally, turning to look at me over the top of her sunglasses. "You don't get special treatment." That was the moment something shifted in my chest. Not anger yet. Something colder. The realization that she genuinely believed what she was saying. That she assumed authority where she had none. That she'd already decided I was just another resident she could steamroll. I told her again that the garage was mine, that I'd never agreed to any HOA use, that I wanted the vehicles removed. She waved her hand dismissively. "We'll be done in a few hours. Don't be difficult. Don't be difficult." I stood there, surrounded by strangers, watching them treat my property like a prop, and for the first time since I'd bought this place, I felt small, outnumbered. Like maybe I'd missed something. Like maybe there was some clause, some expansion agreement, some buried document that gave them the right to do this. That doubt crept in quietly, and it stayed. I walked back up to the house and sat down, staring at the paperwork I'd kept for years, deed surveys, old closing documents. My hands were shaking. I kept thinking, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm about to embarrass myself? What if I push back and it turns out she's right? Because that's how people like her operate. They don't just take space, they take confidence. They make you question what you know. They make you hesitate just long enough for them to win. I remember staring out at the lake, feeling this deep, sinking exhaustion. Part of me wanted to let it go, to let them finish their stupid event and leave, to avoid the confrontation, the conflict, the stress. I told myself it was just a garage, just a few hours. And then I caught my reflection in the window, a man standing in his own home asking permission in his own head to defend what was legally his. That's when I stopped doubting. I didn't march back down there. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I picked up my phone and made 2 calls. One to my property attorney, the same guy who'd handled the marina access when I bought the place. The second to a towing company I'd used once before, one that knew how to handle high-end vehicles legally and carefully. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. About 30 minutes later, the sound of engines returned, but this time they were tow trucks. I watched from the driveway as they rolled in one after another, big, slow, unmistakable. The mood changed instantly. People stopped smiling. Phones came out. Voices dropped. The woman with the clipboard spun around her face, tightening as she realized something wasn't going according to plan. She marched over to me furious. "What is this?" she demanded. I met her eyes. "You parked HOA vehicles on private property without permission." She puffed up louder now, making sure everyone could hear. "I am the HOA president." Right on cue, my attorney pulled in behind the tow trucks. He walked over, calmly introduced himself, and said the sentence that ended everything. "He's not in your HOA. You have zero authority here." Silence fell like a dropped plate. Tow truck drivers began checking VIN's ownership records, permits. Everything was by the book. One by one, those pristine cars were carefully loaded and driven away legally, expensively, and very publicly. HOA members panicked, calling owners, arguing with drivers, demanding explanations that didn't exist. The showcase ended before it began. 2 days later, an email went out from the HOA apologizing for a misunderstanding. A month later, the president resigned. And now when she passes my house, she doesn't even look in my direction. Because power only works when people believe in it. And that day she learned the hard way what happens when you assume authority where you have none.